What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is 7 myths British people believe about America. As always, Lawrence Brown, awesome guy, awesome channel. Go and check it out. The link is in the description. But what should I do? Stay and wait till after this video and then go and check Lawrence out. But I'm keen for this video. He actually told us on chat that he was doing this video the other day, didn't he? So I've been like, alright, keeping an eye out. It's coming out soon. We got to do it as soon as it comes out. So we're doing it today. I'm looking forward to it. I wonder if we're going to believe his myths.
I wonder.
That's what we're here for. We're going to let you know. We are British people, and we're going to let you know that if all of us believe his myths, or if we've never heard it, or if there's a bit of BS from Lawrence. It not normally is, but it normally isn't. It not normally is.
We had McDonald's tonight.
We also had McDonald's today, which you absolutely love. Set that like goal.
£2,000.
£2,000, yes, please.
2,000
yes,
likes from McDonald's.
Please, 2,000 likes.
We're not sponsored, so.
Smash that like button, guys. Smash that subscribe button. And are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. 7 myths people believe about America. What we got?
Hello, this video is sponsored by BritBox, the premier streaming service for Britain's most beloved TV shows. I'm Lawrence Brown, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to myths. Specifically, myths that British people, including myself...
You said... You said it. You said lost in the pond, and one of those pertains to, and I went, myths! I've had a lot of coke.
I'm so confused.
By the way, I mean, go drink.
I'm so confused. Yeah, you remember drink.
Press play.
At one point believed about the United States of America.
Ooh.
But it is amazing
New
what
intro.
14 years of living in the United States will do to your understanding and your perceptions about this very country. For instance, I learned early on that they don't have Cornish pasties, and I learned slightly less earlier on, so later, that Michigan has them. But I don't live in Michigan, so one way or another I still have to have them imported. A quick reminder that if you're not subscribed to this channel, you can change that fact about your life right now.
Same here. Do it.
But these myths go way beyond the absence of quintessentially British food. And so now that I've lived here for about a 1/7 of a century, it's time to outline some of the myths that us British believe about America and Americans. This is a funny one, because I think television gives us this notion that Americans do all live in giant houses like
it's probably a TV thing
in Home Alone. But it's not entirely the case. Sure, I mean, statistically, American houses are on average larger than their UK counterparts. There are a number of reasons for this, which I outlined in this video. But to say that all Americans live in really large houses is a complete fabrication of anything resembling the truth. And I was a good example of this before I became a YouTube sensation. Because when I first moved to Chicago, we had to do things on a budget. Between me and my wife, we weren't making a great income, and this is a major city, so we had to sort of settle for an apartment whose dimensions were 300 square feet. And for those of you who don't know, that's about the size of a shoebox, roughly. You know, we had to leave our shoes outside the door. That's how small it was. And it is worth reiterating, I think, that the cost of living in the United States does fluctuate massively across the country.
Definitely.
When I lived in Indiana, just one state over, we were paying about $530 a month. That's basically unheard of in Chicago. And it's certainly unheard of in New York City, which of course was the city in which the show Friends is set. And I think it shows like that gave us this impression that Americans were all living in big apartments.
That does make sense.
It did make me think.
And speaking of houses, I was alerted to a tweet recently from a British...
What was that? I missed that one. Each street has thousands of houses.
Yeah, because you think about, like... For me, I watch so many programs, so many YouTube videos, and they all have massive streets of houses, just streets and streets and streets.
You know, I think I'd have been I'd have thought America thought the UK had just streets of houses, because you see obviously all the semi-detached
I know
ones.
he's about to say that's a myth, but the YouTubers I watch live on streets of houses.
Just streets of houses, yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I'd have thought because it's more spread out, it may have been feel a bit more, Joe, because it's a bigger country, feel more spread out, but fair enough.
I was alerted to a tweet recently from a British person who couldn't believe that American addresses go way up into the thousands, and their
that is mental, to be fair.
That every street in the United States has thousands of houses on it, and this was a belief that I used to have, because the country is absolutely massive, so you almost expect it to house that many people. But the thing is, there are way fewer people in this country per square mile than there are in Britain, so it doesn't add up. And that's when I got looking into it, and in a previous video I outlined, it doesn't really work like that. On any given street, they don't start at the number 1 and then end at 10,000. Often, and it's the case here in Chicago, you'll usually have a string of houses, for example, all in the 6,000s on a given street. And that's because it's about 6 miles from the center of downtown. 1 mile in from that, they're all 5,000s. Another mile, they're all 4,000s, etc.
That's pretty cool fact, because ours are pretty much just, you get the new street
from the start to the
and
end.
it's 1, and then you go to like 56 or whatever. That is a pretty cool thing. So if you ever look at house numbers in America, if it's in 6,000, you know, oh, we're 6 miles out. If you are going to the centre, that's pretty cool.
Now, not every city in the US does it from the centre of the city. It could be from another part of the city or just some other central point. But that's sort of a general rule for how the numbering works on US houses. This one comes up again and again. The United States is such a young country that it basically doesn't have a history. And I've always thought of this perception of America to be quite a lazy one. Because even if you go back to 1776 through to the present day, yes, it is a short amount of time in comparison to the history of Britain. But think about all of the insane things that happened in that period. And even if you ignore all that...
Check some of our reactions out, because we reacted to a lot, and there is so much more to react, and there's so much going on, isn't there?
There's one thing that we tend to forget because we don't get taught it very deeply in Britain. And that is the thousands of years of native history that happened before we even turned up.
True.
I was absolutely blown away, not literally, that would be weird, when I went to Cahokia Mounds here in Illinois. Many, many hundreds of years ago, Cahokia Mounds used to be a native city, and it had about 20,000 people, which might not sound like a lot by both American and British standards, but back in the day, that was more than London. And I once read about this volcano eruption that happened in present-day Oregon a few thousand years ago. And this eruption was witnessed and recorded by Native Americans who were in the area at the time. And long story short, they basically saw the origins of Crater Lake, which is absolutely huge.
It does look beautiful, doesn't it?
To be honest, both Brits and Americans love their myths. I mean, we've got the Loch Ness Monster, you've got a cryogenically frozen Walt Disney, and this new mystery on BritBox, Sherwood, has got...
modern-day Robin Hood.
Can we not do that?
Oh.
Start giving nicknames to wanted murderers and the press gets excited.
And I know what you're thinking.
Oh, it is VR.
It's BritBox.
It is BritBox VR
month. The link is also in my description below. This one is embarrassing for me.
This one's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing, and I made this mistake. I remember I did a reaction video ages ago. I think it was US versus Canada compared, and I think I uttered the words. Sometimes I mix them up as the same. Like before I started doing all these reactions and stuff like that, which is the truth. I'm not going to lie. It'd be years ago now, before I started doing these reactions, learning a lot more, I did make that
in
mistake.
In fairness, like in the UK, like when we were learning about things in school, like the world, everyone, all the teacher would be like, right, look at this, like Russia, blah, blah, Brazil, and then they'd say the USA and Canada as like a... Like the USA
thing.
And Canada is like a group thing.
No, definitely.
Like we know it's a different country. Like I feel like I've always been aware that it's a different country.
Yeah.
But I also did think that you all had the same thing, like the same current, like the same money.
Yeah,
the same shops, the same. And I know everyone's gonna get mad at me for saying this, okay? But I'm gonna just say it anyway. I personally, as a British person, I still can't really. If somebody's speaking to me, I wouldn't say, they're Canadian? They're American? I'd be like,
I don't think that's
are they American or
I don't think
Canadian?
I don't think anyone's going to come at you for that, because apparently we don't have too much of an accent.
Yeah, we're
a lot
from
of
very
British
different
people,
places.
And although Canada's a different country,
you still
it's
kind of
still
sound
a similar accent. Yes, it's different to you guys. Yes, sometimes if at the extremes of it, we'll be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
But the normal day to day,
like
probably
a Texas
won't,
person and a New York person, we could tell the difference. But then, like, I feel like for us, we kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think you guys completely understand that. But I think the main issue was people come at us for not understanding, not how do you group them together? Because I know the US has so much history, but after the revolution, stuff like that, Canada still had so much history with obviously the crown and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We know not to say it now, but that is a very, very true myth, and I think that's just constant across Britain if you haven't done your research.
For me, definitely was because in school they'd say USA and Canada.
Yeah, that does make sense.
America and Canada as
just tying together
as
a
a
little
two
bit.
thing, yeah.
Definitely.
Because years ago, I believed that Canada and the United States were basically the same country. And the reason that I believe that is, number one, I was 12, so cut me some slack. And number two, my only sort of exposure to both countries was through the people. It was through the way they spoke. And to my young ears, which couldn't differentiate these two accents, Macho Man Randy Savage and Bret Hart basically had the same accent.
That's like me.
Just with an entirely different timbre. And that's all I had to go on. And I think it's what a lot of British people have to go on, because I still occasionally see those comments. Oh, what is the difference between Canada and America? Or is it essentially that one has Mounties and the other doesn't? And it's only since I moved here that I've become super aware of the substantial difference between the two countries. Completely different healthcare systems, completely different food, completely different use of
Definitely
English.
A lot of differences.
Right, in Britain we call it the loo, in America they call it a restroom, in Canada they call it a washroom. And I've seen all manner of different examples of that kind of thing. In America they don't celebrate Boxing Day, in Canada they do. The Canadian dollar is different to the American dollar. In some ways they go with British English in places that America doesn't. And now that I'm older and I've listened to some of the regionalisms throughout the United States,
can't tell.
even the way Americans speak is different to how Canadians speak. I'm not an expert on that, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but these differences certainly go way beyond how the two countries pronounce the word about. I've touched on this before, but I couldn't really do
that's
a
a
video
massive
without including
stereotype.
it in this
but I
list.
never believed
This
it.
perception that Americans are loud and boisterous. And I can understand on some level where that comes from, because I think the way Americans speak, it comes from a different part of the throat. So it's a bit more projected, right? Whereas us Brits, it's more I don't know, understated a lot of the time. I think another reason that we think Americans are loud is how they present themselves in films.
Yeah, I guess mumble, and also I guess kind of how directness. We've covered this on so many videos.
See, in fairness, I know about 5 American people in real life.
Yeah.
Like one of my teachers, my history teacher at school's American.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of American parents over the last few years. They have all been loud. Like significantly louder.
It might be either they're just loud people.
And also, they're always happy, them 5.
That's good. That's what you want to see.
Good,
we want people to be happy.
Like,
but I guess the directness as well, because like we're chatting, so that you're not really direct. You're kind of just beating around the bush sometimes. You don't want to upset people. Where we've covered a lot of videos where the people said, they're just direct. They just say it as it is, and maybe more blunt. And that could be perceived as loud because you just straight to the point, if that makes sense, instead of timid or something like that.
Everyone, like people think of British people as like we always say sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
There might even have been a time in my life where I thought all Americans were loud just because Jim Carrey was. He's Canadian, isn't he? He is Canadian. And culturally speaking, I definitely have found that Americans speak at a higher volume when they're in restaurants together. But there are so many other examples of the opposite being true. On match day, after we've had a pint or 6, we're singing the songs of our team who we love because they happen to be situated in the town that we were born in. And it's just what we do when we leave a nightclub, which, I haven't done in 20 years. But when we did, I'd be on the street yelling at traffic cones because that might have just been me. But what I'm saying is, when we get drunk, we very much give Americans a run for their money. There's a loud person in all of us, right? And once we free ourselves of our inhibitions, we can let out all of the decibels we want. That's not a call to action. It's merely an observation.
Walk around in fanny packs.
What? Not because of the image of Americans walking around with bomb bags on.
I've never heard that one of you.
Because we call them bomb bags and you call them fanny packs, and it's bloody hilarious. It is also partly the visual, because bomb bags have never been cool, but this notion, which I occasionally read, that Americans are just always walking around wearing one, is very laughable, especially as somebody who's lived here 14 years. So it's quite dumbfounding, this one. I'm not saying that all British people think this way, but the ones
I've never heard it.
I'd be very interested to hear, do they think that way because they met an American in 1994 and they've just held on to that belief? Or are American tourists still wearing bomb bags? Do people carry cash? But I don't. I can tell you this, I don't have a bomb bag.
I feel like
young kid, like teenage kids wear them.
They wear like the little bags, don't they? Yeah, not quite the around the waist ones.
Festival ones, they do wear them.
At times, they're coming back in fashion a little bit, aren't they? I don't wear them.
You've never seen me on one.
Fanny pack radar. Right? I am not constantly surveilling the populace to see whether they do or do not have a fanny pack.
No,
but my feeling is I don't remember seeing one in a while. So I think this is one very time-specific stereotype that can now be laid to rest. Right? And yes, I thought I'd include one that was quite topical,
fall, don't
just because we are in the autumn.
But they do say autumn as well, though.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's why in this video, but that does make sense. But isn't the main one fall?
They do say fall, yeah.
But they also say autumn.
Because I mentioned this fact on my YouTube short yesterday. Now, while for reasons that were laid out in that YouTube short, Americans prefer the term fall, I was surprised to find that the word autumn was pretty common among Americans.
There you go.
I don't know if this is a recent thing, like the whole country just woke up one morning and watched Lost in the Pond and thought to themselves, yes, we're changing things now. Or if it's just sort of always been here as an alternative to fall. And you might be thinking, ooh, Lawrence, aren't there many surprising word alternatives that Americans use that Brits don't know about? And the answer to that is yes. I merely brought this one up so I could make that very point. This is undoubtedly a pandemic era thing, but I've seen an increasing number of Americans using the word jab to mean shot. I once worked with an American colleague who liked to use the word bonkers. So in part because of the internet, just as Britain is taking on quite a few Americanisms, I think the same is true in reverse, and it will be very interesting to look further into those details. And those are just a handful of myths that some Brits
we definitely say jab, don't we?
Yeah, we say jab.
COVID jab.
I've never said shot in my life before. That's definitely an American thing. But yeah, jab, vaccine, something like that, yeah.
Or injection.
Yeah, it's good. Do you enjoy that?
Yeah.
7 myths. The last one we obviously completely didn't get. No, sorry, second to the last one I do mean. The fanny packs, bum bags one. But other than that, I think a lot of them were spot on.
Yeah.
Enjoy that?
Yeah, it's good.
Smash the like button if you enjoyed it, guys. Smash the subscribe button as well. Let us know any videos you want us to check out in the comments below. And what's your video?
Have a fantastic day.
And we'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.